ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהכל נהיה בדברו. Passover, Pesach. It's the anniversary of the Exodus from Egypt. After 210 years of slavery in Egypt, God took us out of Egypt. As a matter of fact, if you read the Bible carefully, it says that Pharaoh sent us out, really, because not everybody really wanted to leave. You know, after being in Egypt for, as I say, 210 years, even though you were enslaved during those years, but there were years, good years before also, you lived in the greatest civilization of the time. And there were many people that wanted to stay there. According to our rabbis, only 1/5 of the slaves left Egypt. 4/5 did not. They became assimilated somehow. Some say they died the night of darkness, but not everybody wanted to leave, because you're going where? Into the desert. You know, it's unknown territory. And even though in Egypt you had to work very hard, at least you had some bread, they gave you something to subsist. In other words, the idea of freedom was not really rooted in the Jewish people as yet, even in society in general, because they thought that you were born to be a slave, that's your lot in life. Even the Romans thought so. Some people are born to be free, others are born to be slaves. And this is your lot in life. Accept it and that's it. You know, there is this Sisyphus that is moving a big rock up a mountain. He keeps on moving it, but he can never reach the top. You know, this is your lot in life. You have to labor, you have to toil, and that's it. Don't complain about it. But yet, Judaism taught something, that freedom is very important. And even if you eat matzah, which is really the bread of the poor, and maybe this is also the reason why we break the matzah for an afikomen, to show that the poor never really has a whole piece of bread. You know, it's broken. Our bread is broken, yet it's better to eat it in freedom than in anywhere else. It seems that the pilgrims that crossed the ocean from Europe to come to the United States were running away from religious oppression, and they felt they were crossing the Red Sea, just like the Hebrew slaves. They were escaping intellectual, spiritual slavery and going into a new land, even though the new land, you know, they didn't know exactly what they were going to find there, but they didn't want to live under the oppression of somebody else telling them what to do, what to believe in. So I say this is something that has become rooted in humanity at large. We want freedom, and this is what the Jewish people taught. But there's one phrase in the Haggadah that keeps on haunting me. And I thought at times it's true, but maybe it isn't so true. And as time passes on, it is less and less true. It says the following: Bechol dor vador, in every generation, omdim aleinu lechalotenu, that those that rise to annihilate us. Why is that so? Why do people want to kill us? And I thought, this is what many people thought. This is why many Jews became socialists, communists also, because they preached, you know, we are all one big society, everybody is going to earn the same thing, there is no difference between us. And they thought that we Jews will enter that as well. But it turned out that there was a lot of anti-Semitism there as well. Nowadays, do you have an encyclopedia in your house by any chance? I used to have one. I no longer have one, because it occupies 20 volumes, 30 volumes, costs a lot of money, and then weighs a lot. You have to look up. You know what you do? You ask Mr. Google on your telephone. Anything you want to know, you can, in your laptop, immediately have something, and most of us have a printer at home as well. You can print out any pages, anything that you want to know. In this age of knowledge, this age of culture, where so much information is available to each and every one of us, Is it still true? Bechol dor vador omdim aleinu. In every generation they want to annihilate us? How can that be? Yet you find people preaching that the Jews really control the banks. They control the politics in the United States. And the Jews are a negative element. There's a guy by the name of Farrakhan. And he is given all sorts of stages in which to preach his evil against the Jews. The synagogue, he says, that is the devil. And the synagogue are the same thing. And preaching that we Jews try to oppress everybody else. And the message of Pesach is the contrary. No more oppression. We are all free. So I thought years ago that the time will come in my lifetime where this will no longer be true. Of course, after the Holocaust, I thought when the world will learn what really happened during the Second World War, how the most cultured nation in the world, or one of the most cultured nations in the world, organized a machinery to systematically kill people for no good reason at all, without bringing them to justice, just because they were born Jews, that when the world will learn what really happened there, this will never happen again. I was sure of that. I remember reading that General Eisenhower took movies of the concentration camps because he said people won't believe what we are seeing today. Skeletons, human skeletons, just skin and bones, that's all that remains from a human being. How the Nazis treated the Jews in those concentration camps. Those that did not go, that were not incinerated, were not gassed first and afterwards incinerated. I was sure that that was going to end. Yet, I think we have to recite every year again, Bechol dor vador, omdim aleinu lechalotenu. In every generation, that those that want to annihilate us. What is that teaching us? That is teaching us that liberty, freedom, is not something permanent. You obtain it, you have to guard it. You have to nurture it. You have to make sure that discrimination, that hate, does not enter the different portals of the minds of young people. I remember the lyrics in South Pacific was a very important Broadway show. You have to be taught to hate. Hate is not a natural reaction of a human being. You have to be taught to hate. And there are those that are still interested in nowadays to teach hate in the world. So therefore, maybe the message of Pesach is not only the freedom that our ancestors gained thousands of years ago. It means you obtained something then, but you have to watch it every day. There's something called Leil Shimurim. It's a night of watchfulness, the night of Pesach. You have to watch out for the freedom. Don't think that you conquered it and now it's yours. It can always be taken away. And I think that if we are conscious of that, we'll appreciate our freedom more and more. We will appreciate what our ancestors did, and we will transmit to future generations the importance of living as a free human being.